February, 28th of February. And today I want to talk about reconciliation. The definition of reconciliation is the process of making two people or groups of people friendly again after they have argued seriously or fought and kept apart from each other. The state of being reconciled. A change in the relationship after a breakup. Getting two people to be compatible with one another. A former enemy being reconciled. A strengthening in relationships. You know, we're told in Corinthians 5:18, and all things are of God, who hath reconciled us to himself by Jesus Christ, and hath given to us the ministry of reconciliation. You know, God is reconciling us to himself, and he's given us the ministry of reconciliation. In other words, we should be about assisting other people to be reconciled, especially if they're children of God. There's a song that says, "My God is reconciled, his pardoning voice I hear. He owns me for his child, I will no longer fear. With confidence I now draw nigh, with confidence I now draw nigh, and Father, Abba, Father, cry." There was a time when we were alienated from God. We were in a fight against God and his word and his we didn't want to have a relationship with God. What happened? He caused us to want to flee to him. We were made willing in the day of his power. Have you ever had a relationship with someone who there wasn't there was a problem within the relationship, and it seemed like you couldn't do anything to reconcile, and then something happened and the quarrel was over. The infringement was healed. You know, Christ is our reconciliation. You know, and I'm glad that he has brought reconciliation to all of his people. I'm glad that we don't have to be concerned about whether we are alienated from God or not, because he has called us brethren. He's called us friends, and we call him Lord. There are some people that I would like to be reconciled to that have come into my life. But for some reason, God in His sovereignty has not allowed that reconciliation to happen. And, I have to say, in all honesty, many times it's my own fault because of maybe some of the things I've said or some of the positions I've taken on things haven't been as loving as I should have been. Many times we are alienated from our loved ones and our families because of things that have happened in those relationships. Two people become friendly again after an argument or a disagreement. Well, I'm not going to mention any names, but one of my very best friends now, one time we had an argument, and I'm glad that we were reconciled. I just think of course, the sovereignty of God is in all things, but I've often wondered, what if we hadn't been reconciled? Just think of the great times we had missed with each other and the relationship we've had since our reconciliation. I've been married for 50 years, and anyone knows that when you're married that long, you're going to have disagreements, you're going to have arguments. But you learn how to reconcile when you have disagreements. You learn how to compromise. You learn how to get along, That's what love is putting the other person ahead of our own interest. There's no easy way to reconcile. You probably heard of the term irreconcilable differences. Some people have irreconcilable differences. And there are times when we have to draw the line if we feel like that we're being asked to do something that goes against our conscience. When I worked for the state of Missouri as a social worker, when I first went to work for that agency in Kansas City, I had a really good working relationship with my supervisor when I started. And I got very high scores in my evaluation when I began. But what happened was that when I was asked to do something that went against my conscience, we had irreconcilable differences. And I was terminated because of my refusal to license homosexuals as foster parents and place children with homosexuals. We had irreconcilable differences. And sometimes, I'll never be reconciled with that supervisor because I'm sure after me filing a federal lawsuit against the state of Missouri, and all the courses of events that's happened, there's no way that she ever wants to be reconciled with me. God is the great reconciler, though. The thief on the cross said, "Remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom." And Christ immediately said, "This day thou shalt be with me in paradise." On the cross, Christ said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." When they were stoning Stephen, Stephen said, "Lord, lay not this sin to their charge." So this morning, let us be reconciled to those that we can be reconciled to by reaching out and letting those people know that they are an important, valuable asset to us in our relationships, and Time is very temporary. We have a very short time on this earth to be reconciled to our brothers and sisters in Christ. May the good Lord be with you today in a special way is my prayer. God bless.